An amazing, amazing story here. One of the top oil industry officials has threatened the President of the United States politically. The President, is he President? Yeah, the President of the American Petroleum Institute, Jack Gerard, said that if Obama didn't approve the XL pipeline quickly, he would face, quote, huge political consequences. We have reached the point in this country where an industry is threatening a sitting president with, we're going to take you out politically. Tell me Citizens United hasn't gone on steroids and gone insane. But there's a larger issue here, too, and that is, the XL pipeline, the oil thing. I read this story recently that suggested that the United States has become, here we are, the Associated Press, for the first time, the top export of the United States, the world's biggest gas guzzler, is wait for it, fuel. We export a lot of wood products. We export, we're basically a third world nation now. We don't export so many finished goods, but we export a lot of raw materials, a lot of, mining products and coal and things like that. Now our number one export is gas and diesel fuel, refined oil. And, of course, our number one import is oil. So what is going on? Tyler Slocum is the director of Public Citizens Energy Program and an expert on this stuff. And citizen.org, of course, the website. Tyler, welcome to the program.
Hey, great to be here.
Great to have you with us. First of all, in my setup for all this, was basically everything I said accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically what's going on here is that since 2008 and the economic collapse, domestic demand for gasoline has been pretty anemic. It's been pretty flat. At the same time, oil production here in the United States has been at record highs. We're producing more oil today under the Obama administration than we did at any point during the Bush administration.
Is that because of increased offshore drilling or because of fracking?
It's a combination of all.
Finding new oil?
Offshore and a lot of unconventional oil and sustained high prices for crude.
Yeah.
You have to remember the United States is the third largest crude oil producing nation in the world. Only the Saudis and the Russians produce more than we do. So the combination of record high oil production with flat domestic gasoline consumption has led many refiners to look to export refined products, and they do that to help boost refining profits.
So, wait a minute.
If gasoline demand is really flat here in the United States, and you're only selling in the United States, you're not going to make a whole lot of money.
And the price should go down. Gas, what's the price of gas right now on average around the United States?
I haven't looked. It's around $3.50 or so a gallon.
So
it's pretty high.
Right. So if gasoline is selling for $3.50 a gallon on average in the United States right now, or more or less, and the laws of supply and demand actually worked, and you would think, at least within a domestic marketplace, you would think that if there's an excess supply and a diminished demand, that the price would drop. And the price hasn't dropped. I'm curious, when these refiners export that gasoline, I'm guessing they're not getting $3.50 a gallon for it.
Right. They're selling into a pretty competitive global marketplace. And so by doing so, they're able to prop up domestic gasoline prices here in the United States.
Right. So they're doing this not to increase their profits through export. I mean, they may be exporting at cost or at a small profit, but by exporting it, they're keeping it off the U.S. market, thus maintaining low levels of supply relative to demand so they can maintain high prices.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is that we have federal regulations that make it very difficult to export crude oil that's produced here in the United States. You have to get an export license from the U.S. Department of Commerce, and it's difficult to obtain.
Right.
There are no such regulations on exporting refined products like gasoline and diesel. So, and if you look at the details, a lot of people are talking about this Keystone pipeline that would take Canadian tar sands crude oil from Alberta, Canada, and bring it down to the United States. Well, we're already processing about 1 million barrels of Canadian tar sands oil every day in the Midwest. Almost all of it is refined in Ohio, Illinois, Indiana.
Well, they bring it in by truck?
No. There's a pipeline that already serves that.
Oh, really?
What the Keystone Pipeline does is it expands the existing pipeline system to divert the oil away from the Midwestern refineries and bring it down to the Gulf Coast refineries.
Where can be exported?
Do you think 90% of all the fuel exports occur? In the Gulf Coast refinery section. The Keystone Pipeline is really about boosting the profits of domestic refiners by adding to this already record export gasoline market, where it's about importing Canadian crude to export the gasoline that we process.
And what companies own most of the refining industry in the Gulf Coast in Texas?
It's ExxonMobil, it's Shell, it's Chevron Texaco, it's ConocoPhillips, it's Valero, it's all the big majors.
What about the Koch brothers?
They're not a major refiner, actually.
Oh, that's interesting.
They own some pipelines, but the refining business is really dominated by the big majors.
Okay.
And now with the American Petroleum Institute launching this new campaign, saying we need the Keystone Pipeline, we need to drill for more oil in the United States because apparently being the third largest producer of crude oil isn't enough. And they're talking about refining more here. It's all about boosting the profits of these big oil companies to turn the United States into even a bigger export market.
And if my recollection is correct, that list that you gave of oil companies, at least half of those companies are not even American companies.
Right. I mean, these are big multinationals. And even for a company like ExxonMobil, it's a multinational. This is a company that has its headquarters in the United States, but they do business. They don't pledge allegiance to the United States every day. They pledge allegiance to wherever they can make the most money. That's what a multinational does.
Yeah, and finally, Tyler, here we are importing crude oil, exporting refined oil. In the process of transforming crude oil into gasoline and diesel fuel that we can then export to presumably Mexico? Is that
actually it's South America, it's Europe, and some parts of Asia.
Amazing.
But South America is definitely a big destination market.
Okay. So in the process of transforming that crude oil into these refined oil products, gasoline and things that we're exporting to South and Central America and to Europe, isn't there produced an enormous amount of toxic material that gets poured into the air and water that causes cancer downstream? I've heard of these cancer alleys.
Right. Cancer Alley extends from the Texas Gulf refining coast into Louisiana, and that's because that's where the bulk of U.S. refineries are located. It's a dirty, messy business.
Okay, so you and I are, through our tax dollars, principally through Medicare, we're paying, because those cancer alley areas are typically minority and poor.
Absolutely.
We are paying for the health care costs associated with this refining business. The oil companies are not paying a penny of that cost. And we're also, for all the imported oil that is coming into this country, being refined and then shipped to Mexico, we're paying for the military that protects those shipping lines. And the oil companies are not paying a penny of that. Do I have that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's incredible. What a scam.
We're not getting our money's worth on this. It would make a lot more sense to figure out how we can give American families more tools to help them avoid these high gas prices and give them cleaner alternatives.
Yeah, like let's build out a solar infrastructure and start getting electric cars going, for example, or mass transportation.
Absolutely.
Mass transit. Tyler Slocum with the director of Public Citizens Energy Program. You can read about it at citizen.org. Thank you, Tyler.
It's my pleasure.
Or Tyson, I'm sorry. Great talking with you, Tyson.